Obi-Wan, this boy too old. I told you, I want him young. When next time you send me a boy, ain't no boy 19 showing up. I want a 5-year-old.
Welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the podcast where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Michael.
I'm Kalen.
And today, we're continuing our month where we look at the TV screen and we say, that MFer right there, he's not real because he's animated. And in this case, he's stop motion animated. Kalen, would you like to just sort of let the audience know about our pick for today?
We're doing Mad God, written and directed by Phil Tippett. We know Phil Tippett from, he does like work on a lot of different films, like a lot of special effects. I think he's best known for like the Rancor in Return of the Jedi. He's done some work on Jurassic Park, Starship Troopers. He's all over the industry. He's great at practical, and he loves doing the stop motion animated stuff.
Was it Ed 209? Is that the robot in RoboCop that murders everyone in the boardroom?
Yep.
He did that. So he's like a lot of like 70s and 80s like stop motion animated stuff. I believe he's related to ILM, Industrial Lights and Magic.
Yes. He has a very distinct style too. It's very recognizable in Mad God. A lot of his creature design kind of like harkens back to that Rancor look, really dirty and disgusting and slimy. Yeah. Michael, what did you think of Mad God?
So Mad God's it's an interesting one. It's really dark. It's essentially a journey into hell. But yeah, you can tell, and this is like a side project of Phil Tippett that he's worked on for up to 30 years. You can really tell that this is a passion project and that it is a lot of time and effort has been spent putting this together, just with all the detail and the designs and the various creatures and just how imaginative it all is. And also in the fact that this is a movie that is like, you know, it's like a real like art house movie. It's like something that you could not show to most people and have them be like, wow, what an entertaining piece of, you know, film. Like they're going to watch it. Most people will probably plug into this and maybe they'll admire the imagery or whatever, but it's a weird one. It's a weird one and it's a dark one. And it's like, it's quite the flip side of the coin from our start of the year where we did Lego Movie and Ratatouille, just two like huggable movies.
Yeah, literally.
This is not a huggable movie.
Complete opposite. This definitely has like the stank of like a cult classic on it. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it'll be more appreciated down the road.
And it's a recent release. I think it was like 21 or 22.
21, I believe. No, actually 2022. So I think it came out June. So summer release. Didn't gain too much traction, I don't think. I think it released in like select theaters. But that to be said, the budget for this was $150,000. So I'm guessing this all came out of his pocket. And he, like you were saying, it's just a passion project, and you can really see that translate onto the screen. So what were your like initial thoughts kind of going in, because this was your first time viewing it, correct?
Yeah. I didn't have like high hopes, mostly just because I just thought it wouldn't be my bag. Not that I had any like judgment on the quality of it. I just was like if you watch the trailer, one thing you cannot accuse this movie of is false advertising. You watch the trailer and all the quotes are like, it's disgusting, it will eat you alive. Yeah. Like, burn your face off, metal as hell movie. Like, that's all the quotes, and it's just like the most disgusting images you've ever seen for a minute and a half. So after watching that, you know what you're signing up for. Right. And I just wasn't sure if that's like a thing I wanted to do. Yeah. You know, outside of like the purpose of this podcast. But it was I want to get into it more as we go on, but like I found myself surprisingly enjoying it, especially for a movie that like I'm a guy, and I've complained like in our last animation April. I complained about Spirited Away, which in a weird way I kind of connect to this movie. Because Spirited Away felt like it didn't have a lot of like narrative momentum. It's like it was hard to like latch onto the forward motion of this movie. And this movie is kind of a movie that has forward momentum till like a middle point, and then it just kind of like goes all over the place.
Yeah.
That's not usually the thing I like. I do like a clear like narrative, but I liked it more than I expected, and it was quite cool. And there's some moments toward the end that actually like kind of brought it full circle for me. And I think the story itself actually kind of comes full circle.
Yeah. It starts off really hard to follow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really all just pure visuals. There's no dialogue. Besides maybe a couple scenes where somebody's saying something in the background or making a speech to like a group of people or different things like that. There's really no dialogue whatsoever. And so it's purely like a visual art. And I just see this as like a death metal album cover kind of just on rails. You know what I mean? You're just kind of going through this disgusting world and really taking in the visual spectacle of it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to bring back a segment quickly.
Go for it.
Remember we did Letterboxd reviews?
Absolutely.
I'm not reading other people's Letterboxd reviews. I'm doing a new twist. You are going to choose my Letterboxd review. I'm going to have 3 like and this is what my Letterboxd review will be when I post it later. Okay. So the first one is top 10 worst first date movie of all time. Just terrible.
Oh yeah.
You have that story of bringing a date to the the Green Inferno?
Oh yeah. Yep. And also Sausage Party.
Oh my God.
That was a terrible first date movie.
Okay, the next one is if you ever needed to take revenge on a 5-year-old, this is the film to show them. Just like they're not sleeping for days, you know?
Yeah, literally.
And this one I might need to explain a little bit because I'm not sure you've seen this movie, but would be a great double feature with Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Have not seen that.
Because in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, they die and go to hell. But the version of hell in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey is like if you beat why can't I think of his name? The guy with the scythe, the Grim Reaper. If you beat the Grim Reaper at a board game, you get to escape hell. And like, and like the most like hellish thing about their version of hell is that it's entirely constructed of passageways that have ceilings that are just a little bit too low for you to stand up in.
Okay.
So you have to like waddle walk.
It's an uncomfortable afterlife.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more an array of discomforts, not like a real like tortured hell.
I think you hit the nail with the first one.
The first one?
Yeah, the first one's great.
Top 10 worst first date movie of all time?
Yeah. It's definitely up there. This is one of those movies like you don't show many people. I would show you this because you just have that grasp on film. I couldn't show Pania this. You know what I mean?
No.
Like it would be, yeah.
Top 10 movies you can't show anyone. It's like this and like Good Times and like a few others.
Yeah.
And I just want to also sidetrack us a little bit because when I went to watch this movie, so I'm here to bash the corporation real quick. I accidentally signed up for a year of AMC Plus. So I have a year of AMC Plus. And AMC Plus has actually some good stuff on it.
They do.
Their movie section is decent, and they're always renewing. And
They got all the Walking Dead spinoffs.
You got all the Walking Dead. You got Breaking Bad. Mad Men. There's AMC over time has had a lot of quality TV shows. I used it to watch the show Kevin Can Fuck Himself. Great show.
Nice.
And with AMC Plus, you also get Shudder, which is the horror streaming service.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with AMC Plus. It only streams at 720p, and it's like in a terrible, like its bitrate is terrible. Like I turned this on, and I watched like the first 5 minutes of it, and I realized like this is just going to be a silent, like visual epic, and it's a really dark movie, like literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know when you're streaming something in bad quality and you get that like pixelation in all the dark areas and you're not getting any of the detail, I had to shut this off, sign up for Shudder trial by itself for free, download the Shudder app and watch it on Shudder, and it looked much better.
Damn. Yeah, that's fucked. Yeah. Because I watched this on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I rented it. So I don't know. My go-to is always Amazon Prime. If I'm ever going to watch something.
And like when you sign up for AMC Plus, it's like $8 a month. Like it's not a bad deal.
I think it's cheaper than that. I want to say it's like $4 or $5.
No, it's $7.99 because I looked, and like Shudder by itself is $5.99. So if you have Shudder plus AMC Plus, like it kind of just makes sense to save money. But since it streams so poorly, and also their movies, I think they do like the TV edit of the movie when you're streaming it on demand. So you get all these weird.
So you get the chops from the moving on to the commercial. Or
yeah, you get the like weird fade ins and fade outs that only happen because they're editing it for film.
Oh, that's
editing it
trash.
for TV, and it's just trash. And they wonder why they're failing in like a falling apart business. It's like because you've made terrible decisions and your technology doesn't work.
Well, it's like if you thought streaming was bad, now we live in the day where like different streaming sites, they're all like in these package deals now. It's like you get HBO and then you get Discovery Plus, or you get Disney Plus and now you get Hulu attached to it. It makes no sense. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, they're just trying to make some money. But
they're going to be like, there's a box you can buy. You'll pay about $80 a month, and it has all the streaming services.
Everything.
And it'll just be cable again, except it runs on Wi-Fi.
Literally. And you can choose what you want to watch. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just like C Plus if you care about streaming things in high quality.
If you want to stream something in high quality and you just want to rent something you don't want to buy, Amazon Prime is the place to go. It's like a $3 rental.
Yeah. So
And you get it for 36 hours, something like that. Yeah.
Shall we move along?
It was the performance of a lifetime!
To our first segment, which is the performance stats, where we talk about our favorite actors, scenes, and moments. And since this is a movie that doesn't really contain any actors, I just have some... there's a lot of sequences in this movie, and I just want to sum up the sequences.
Yeah.
A little
Or we
bit.
could do like a character test, or like where we can like what our favorite looking monster was, or
True.
like, you know, that kind
True.
of thing.
I mean, I don't want to dominate this section. Do you have anything you want to say right away? Or
No, I think
Okay.
go on.
So this, it's kind of a segmented movie, and this film, like some segments of this movie had been shown before at festivals. Like they showed portions of this movie as he was making it. So it's like kind of clearly segmented into various like moments. So this movie opens, and it's a man parachuting into hell inside the time machine from Doom Patrol Season 2. If you've seen Doom Patrol Season 2, it looks just like it. And he's like kind of gets out and he's kind of exploring.
Well, it's a diving bell, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. That's what also the Doom Patrol Season 2 one is. He dives into hell and he's exploring, and you don't really know his purpose. He's kind of just wandering around, seeing what happens, avoiding the various dangers.
Yeah.
I'm not giving like a full. These are just the things I wrote down. I'm sure there's things I'm missing. And we get to the section where there's a bunch of like drone, like they're shaped like men, but they look like they're made of like spider webbing or something,
Or cotton or something weird. Yeah.
some weird, and they we're watching them die in various gruesome ways. They're getting smashed, they're getting ripped apart, they're getting just splatted everywhere. Eventually our sort of main character for the first half of the movie, this gas mask faced guy,
He's coined the assassin in the official description.
so the assassin is like about to set a bomb off,
Yes.
it seems like, and then he gets captured by a monster.
Yes.
And taken to an operating table where we have dismemberment theater, where for a moment, like a curtain comes down and an audience pushes in.
Yeah.
And they just watch as like some doctors come in and like in a little like shadow puppet show, they just like rip all his arms off.
I think what it was is they just took his clothes off
Okay.
and then they bandaged him or whatever, because he didn't start cutting into him until after that scene.
Until after the theater. And then we get to chest cavity rummaging, where the doctor comes in, this hell doctor, and he just cuts his chest open and finds all kinds of like pearl necklaces and coins, I guess.
And papers and all types of stuff. I don't know.
All the time, our assassin character is wide-eyed and awake,
Yeah.
and I guess living through this. And this is where we're really getting to the like torture is hell, Hades.
Yeah. And some of our themes, kind of.
Yeah.
Because I kind of saw that as like maybe that's like a thing about big pharma, you know, how it's like they cut into you and they take all your money out. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. I saw it kind of like that. There's different themes going on.
Or I thought of it more as like, if this is hell, maybe whatever's in there is like your core sin. Like maybe this guy is greedy.
He's greedy.
So he's full of items.
Right.
I don't know. Like none of it ever really gets fully explained. There's things that you can piece together in this movie. I think if you chose to rewatch it.
Another Letterboxd review. I don't know. Literally.
Eventually, we meet our first, I think, like real human. I think the doctor was portrayed by a real human.
Yep.
The doctor and the nurse. And then eventually we get to a guy with 12-inch fingernails who just kind of grunts. And apparently there's a whole army of these assassin guys that he commands. And through a series of stuff, eventually he like sends a new guy.
Well, if
back
you
into
notice
hell.
later on when our hero, the assassin, is kind of driving through the wasteland of hell, it's like another circle or another area of it. He stops and he notices a bunch of briefcases that are similar to his. So apparently it's implied that this has been done before, and each time they've tried this, it's failed. So yeah.
It's a lot of this movie is like about like the clockwork cycle of things.
Yeah. Something about time. It's very important in this.
That new helmet guy rides a motorcycle through hell, eventually gets in a car, and he ends up like driving through World War I in hell because there's like tanks and like, a war going on.
Yeah. I kind of saw, so we're going to kind of get into some themes a little bit just because this movie it's very hard to like categorize. So we can kind of talk about a little bit of some themes. Hold on one second. So obviously I think the biggest inspiration for this is Dante's Inferno. And if people don't know what Dante's Inferno is, it was a series of books long time ago. I couldn't tell you when they were written, but it's a book about a guy named Dante Alighieri, and I think it's the author of the books, but it's like his pilgrimage or like his spiritual journey. And so in this book, he basically goes on a tour of hell. And he's guided through the 9 circles. And the 9 circles were like lust, greed, suicide, different things like that, that people were punished for. And so they're sent to these individual circles in hell. And at the bottom of hell, it's frozen over, and that's where Satan resides. So obviously that's kind of like the key inspiration to this film.
As we continue on, we meet and this is where the movie kind of like disperses. Like once the next assassin is sent, the first movie follows that original assassin, and then after that it kind of like disperses the movie kind of disperses its attention away from him and into various different things. We cut back to the original assassin, who eventually they cut and find like the fucking chest burster, like a fuzzy chest burster inside him.
That screams like a baby.
That cries like a baby. So the Red Skull from the Soulstone planet carries this fuzzy chest burster across hell just to smash it in a smusher somewhere. Like,
I will say that freaking monster was straight out of like Dark Souls or like Bloodborne or something. That shit was awesome looking.
Yeah, and he had like little like hippie bead.
Yeah, he was like a plague doctor or something. It was strange, but I believe that's the Mad God.
Okay.
That's what I kind of interpreted that character as, because later on we'll kind of get to why. But
the only other note I have, which is short of the ending, is a wart-faced maniac plays lethal pranks on other creatures and watches a mushroom cloud through a telescope.
Yeah.
That happens.
That definitely does happen.
There's like these 2 like giants that just are constantly at battle.
They're fighting each other, and then they're scooping shit, and it's bizarre, man.
And then they whack each other with their shovels, and like it's just like.
But then in his little jar or whatever, his little like aquarium, he's got like the most peaceful place in this entire wasteland.
Yeah.
And with these little creatures. And then he opens a trap door and some disgusting spider thing comes out and takes one of the little ones.
Yeah.
It's like this constant cycle of like creation and then destruction, It's so bizarre, but like, yeah.
It's just like endless ways of unique torture.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then there's the ending, which I can't fully piece together.
I think I got it.
Go for it. So
towards the end, we have our plague doctor. He brings the little baby into this. It's like some kind of lair, and that's where his little Igor guy, the guy that was working on all he's looking through the telescope and that kind of shit. And they make this dust out of this infant thing, and the mad god throws this dust into like a furnace, and it basically creates another universe, or creates a cosmos, something like that. And then there's like this montage of all these different images, and then like you go back to like Earth, and then there's like a war going on or something, and they light a bomb and everything is destroyed. And I kind of saw it as like this mad god is constantly creating new universes, all for them to all do the same thing, where it's like this constant cycle, like I was saying, of creation and then destruction. And I almost saw it as like each level in this hell was like one world built on the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I kind of saw it.
I kind of saw it as like it was like a self-contained cycle, where like
Okay.
where we got on at the start of the movie, that's kind of where we end up again, because we see like there's all these there's constant shots of clocks being stuck, and then eventually when this happens, like the clocks wind back,
Yeah.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And we show like dust accumulating on things and then disappearing, and then did you get a weird like kind of a hopeful note at the end?
No, because I just figured that this cycle would just continue.
With the way things cycled back. That was the one thing I kind of like. It's so hard to piece apart, especially like
This is very hard to talk about.
a couple days later. But to me, it kind of felt like at least maybe it's not hopeful, but it starts again. And the way the music kicks in at the end, the music in this movie is
Yeah.
really good. But the way the music kicks in is like kind of hopeful sounding to me
Yeah.
at the very end of the movie. But yeah, I mean, it is just an array of moments, with the one theme being like death, destruction.
Yeah. Well, I see it as like it's just chaos, and that's what the universe is too. Because if we think about the creation of the universe, it's all just a bunch of shit exploding, essentially. And with the hopeful outcome that you'll create life, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I thought the mad god was kind of doing. It was just like constantly just trying, and then it always ends up the same way, that kind of thing. So it's really interesting. You can kind of pick this apart any way you want, and kind of come up with your own kind of scenario for it.
It's definitely not a movie that stops to explain itself at
No.
any point.
No.
It's you're either on for the ride or you're not.
Right.
Should we move along to It's an Art Bro?
Let's do it.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
This is where we're going to talk about the aspects of the filmmaking process. I mean, so this is a stop motion movie almost in its entirety. There's a couple live action characters that are kind of wedged in there. It opens with a bunch of, so when when our assassin's parachuting in, there's a bunch of flak turrets that like turn to try to shoot him down.
Yeah.
And I feel like from that moment, I was like, oh, you can tell this is the guy that designed an AT-AT.
Oh, for sure.
Like it just, the unique style was like immediate. Like I had immediate attachment just to the specific way it looked.
Everything goes back to Star Wars. We've been
It's-
saying this.
It's a circle. Everything goes back to Star Wars. Last week, everything went back to Lego Movie.
And then
Or The
back
Matrix.
to The Matrix, and then back to Star Wars.
Back to Star Wars. Yeah, it's just like a one man's journey at the start. It was what I thought we were going to follow this guy the
Yeah.
whole time, because he's like he's on the cover.
Right.
But like any comparison I have to this for any like modern, like outside of Dante's Inferno, would be like Dark Souls video games.
Yeah.
Video game Limbo about a tiny big-headed boy in a nightmare universe.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Literally.
It's just there's a few games that you could name that have the like lone silent protagonist explore something like vile.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And you're kind of just there. You have no real purpose. You know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
your purpose is just like survive and continue.
Yeah. The creature designs in this are very strange, obviously, but it has this like feeling of like, I mean, like claymation, obviously, but it's just like people just kind of slapping shit together and creating some monstrosity.
Yeah.
There's no like real like anatomy to any of these creatures. Like there's one creature with like titties and then a penis and like a vagina on its mouth. It's weird shit. And it's like, how could one man's mind come up with something like this? Like, it's so bizarre, and everything has got this slimy kind of like texture to it.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting and dirty, and almost reminds me of some of the set pieces as well. Have you ever read those I Spy books growing up?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, you know how each page there's like you have to find X amount of buttons and stuff, and it's like seashells everywhere. It's just all this like garbage almost. And the way that he like formulates a like cohesive world out of it, it's so like incredible because there's just so much detail to everything, and I haven't really seen that in like a claymation film before, you know. But the miniatures, they look like miniatures, but that you still get that sense of scale too. It's very, very bizarre.
So it's interesting what you said about like how can one man do this. So I don't really know what the exact division of labor is, but Phil Tippett gave this quote about the process. He said, sometimes on the weekends I would get as many as like 15 to 20 people to come in, and these people were people I'd picked up giving talks around the Bay Area and whatnot. Most of them didn't have experience working with tools, so I would spend a little bit of time figuring out what the processes would be, and then on the weekends they would show up and I would show them. I couldn't have done it without them because a lot of the stuff was so involved and tedious. One of the sets of these hills and mountains of dead army men or soldiers, they took between 4 and 6 people over 3 years to build.
Oh my God.
So it was just like, I think he had like students that would like come to like lectures and appearances, and then he'd recruit them to come work on his movie.
An amalgamation of like ideas. That's pretty interesting. Like,
yeah,
way to do your film.
I imagine he did a lot of the design work, but you know, the like actual hands-on was like a bunch of different people, which is where you like, I mean, in claymation, you get the literal fingerprints of the people, you know, designing it. Like, like it's so like there's just so many hands involved, and I think that like cluttery all over the place by nature like works for the type of movie this is,
right?
Because it's like a real just like split your brain type of movie.
Yeah,
you know,
I want to see like a still of like one of their sets, just to see, like, get the sense of scale in each one.
Yeah.
Because some of these just look so vast. I think one of my favorite shots is like an aerial view of of the assassin kind of driving through that wasteland, and he's in this cute little toy car or whatever, and it's so simple, but it just looks incredible, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I really like the design of that main character. It's really striking with the mask and the goggles and just
straight out of like Killzone or
Killzone.
Or, what's that other one?
What are we doing next week?
Oh, we're doing Jinro. Yeah, definitely out of Jinro. Jinro kind of inspired Killzone, and then what is that other one where it's made by the people who made Doom, and damn, what is that called? Wolfenstein.
Oh yeah,
Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein.
This is definitely hell, but like created by Nazis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to shout out the music because that's really the only other thing carrying us through. Yeah. Besides the visuals, there's one guy that did. It's all, I guess, original soundtrack, and it's kind of all over the place. There's some like guitar stuff. There's some like orchestral, just like kind of melting your face. Like this is terrifying type of music.
Yeah.
And it actually ends on like a kind of sweet song at the very end. So it's an interesting, like, that's the other part of the experience to really carry you, because we aren't getting dialogue. You know, our 12-inch fingernail man just kind of grunts his way through his scenes. We're not given anything else to attach to. So I think that's like what's really pushing you to like feel certain emotions at times is what type of music is going to kick in at any given moment.
And this movie is like, it's technically classified as a horror film. And mainly the scares come from, like we were saying, the imagery. And just like the shock at kind of what you're seeing. I've gotten that like a few times in this film. I'm so like desensitized to everything. Not much stuff affects me. But I was telling you last night about a scene that really kind of like struck a chord with me in the beginning. Was when the assassin is kind of just like inching his way through this underworld, and he opens a door. Just happens to open a door, and there's like a monkey strapped to a chair. There's like some creatures in cages, and they're like doing some weird shit. There's no music in the scene, mind you. It's all just purely like the sounds of whatever's in this room. And then he looks in the corner, and there's like a mannequin, like a metal mannequin, like trying to like do some ungodly things to itself, and you hear the clanking from it, and then the doll looks up at him with like one eye, and it's just this blank stare, and that shit made me feel very uncomfortable, and I have not really felt that in a long time from a film. So
Yeah, it's uniquely like there's gory bits, but it's also just like it's like how fucked up is your imagination? You know,
literally,
like how did you get here?
yeah. Do you need a hug? Do you need help?
Like when we mentioned the scene with all the like spiderweb men like getting smashed, it's entirely soundtracked by the sounds of like a baby just kind of just not crying but doing that, just kind of like just little whines and little moans from like a baby, and that returns at the end with the
little fuzzy chest burster.
yeah, and it's just like, why is this baby? You know, like, why did this happen? Why is this a baby sound? And it's so, like, off-kilter is what it is. Like, it never reaches exactly where you'd expect.
Well, I think it's like that trick of the brain where it's like you hear a baby and expect to see a baby, but when you hear something from some monstrous creature, that's, like, very uncomfortable for people.
No.
Yeah, there's something very off and wrong about that.
Yeah, because you hear a baby sound and our instinctual mammal brain says protect.
Yes.
And then you look at it and you're like, no.
No, stay away.
Don't touch me. Freaky baby thing. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy design. A lot of work. Clearly a lot of work. 30 years. Nobody makes movies for 30 years.
No.
You thought Boyhood was a long endeavor? That was a decade-long filming. This is 30-year process with like, dozens of people working on random weekends. Like, what a pet project to have.
Yeah. And for it to actually come to fruition, it's pretty cool. Shall we move on to, hey, what are you trying to say?
Sorry, Okay, well, I thought we put a double-breasted on you because it would look nicer, I think.
What are you saying? Are you saying double-breasted because I should be wearing some milk duds or something? Because I happen to weigh a little more when I was younger and then lost some weight, that I'm a little stretchy in the nipple area, and so that my breasts flap like two large winged socks flapping in the wind even though there's no wind, and I should have something to keep my breasts in so they don't burst out and poke people's eyes out? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm just saying they're on sale this week.
Really, how much?
This is where we talk about the themes of the film. And I would say, I want to read the opening quote, which is a quote from Leviticus 26. And it's like set in the scene. If you disobey me and remain hostile to me, I will act against you in wrathful hostility. I, for my part, will discipline you sevenfold for your sins. You shall eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters. I will destroy your cold places and cut down your incense stands, and I will heap your carcasses upon your lifeless idols. I will spurn you. I will lay your cities in ruin and make your sanctuaries desolate. I will not savor your pleasing odors. I will make the land desolate so that your enemies who settle it shall be appalled by it. And you I will scatter among the nations. I will unsheath the sword against you. Your land shall become a desolation and your cities a ruin. So it's like God just being like, I'm going to wreck you.
Yeah, pretty much. The nicest way possible, too.
So that's like your opening crawl, and then it's Gas Mask Man parachutes into hell. Abandon
all hope, all ye who enter here.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So, I mean, this movie's just setting you up for that, like, real, like, Christian hell style of, like... Bleakness, and the unique, like, hell is supposed to be a place where, like... I mean, it's just, like, the wrath, like, mad God mad, not crazy, angry,
Yeah.
wrathful vengeance of like a all-powerful entity onto eternity.
Yeah.
Like that is the concept you're playing with here. And like when you're, you know, our main guy is walking past like there's a bunch of like giants in electric chairs that just keep getting executed,
Yeah.
keep getting electrocuted, and then shitting their brains out, like shitting their bowels out.
Yeah.
And their bowels are shitting like acid, and it just burns through the floor, and they just repeat.
Because then it like goes into the mouth of some other giant creature.
Yeah.
It's what the fuck?
It is real, like, yeah, Dante's Inferno, real like the Dark World Sistine Chapel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like just the worst hellscapes you can imagine over and over again.
I was waiting on some guy with a broadsword to just start hacking shit down, but that never happened.
No, there was never any fighting back.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was like one moment where you think there may be hope, and time literally freezes.
Yeah.
So that will never happen.
Well, like, so there's like another kind of like thing I notice is that smaller things are always being preyed on by larger things. And then those larger things are getting preyed on by something else bigger. You know, it's that kind of like circle of life kind of thing
Yeah.
where it's like the food chain basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that interesting. And then there's also like an anti-war kind of theme going on. I don't know if you caught that. I mean, obviously with the giant battle scene and a bunch of nukes going off. There's a bunch of nukes in this movie. It's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. There's a one shot in particular that's pretty cool. But yeah, there's definitely some like anti-war stuff, especially with like the assassin's design. It's very Nazi-esque. And yeah.
It's not. I would say it's not Nazi-esque. They look like it's more like a World War I, because that's when they would have worn those masks. Because
Oh
of
yeah,
all
the
gas,
trench fighters. Yeah,
because of all the gas fighting. Like
Yeah.
that's real like World War I.
which was the bloodiest war in history.
Yeah. And when they do the fight, like when he's driving through the fight, all those vehicles are like very coded World War I. Like the design of the tanks, the way those are designed is
Yeah.
like those original first run of tanks,
Right.
with like the turrets on the side and not on top. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that Neil Sain's movie was like, there's something there, because it's not going to explain it to you. Never. Never at any
Right.
point.
And there could also not be anything, too. That's the thing.
I feel like over the array of 30 years, and because I know this has been shown in various segments, it's like it's kind of both. Like he probably had an overarching idea, but also like these ideas might have branched and changed and
Yeah.
developed. And I don't see how it couldn't over decades.
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Unless you were following a strict outline, but
But I mean, from that quote, it sounds like I'm like rounding up this ragtag crew of volunteers to like, put together my passion project on the weekend. So it's not like a.
it kind of just seems like a love letter too to just the art of stop motion.
Yeah.
Because he was definitely one of the pioneers, and obviously we've had tons of stop motion come out. One of my favorites is Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's a underutilized art form, and it's very tedious and very difficult to make. And so obviously most studios aren't going to run to the first stop motion project that they get handed to. But when it's done, it's usually always like rave reviews, and I think part of it is just the art style. I mean, it's just something you can't really replicate outside of that medium. I mean, obviously we were talking about last week how Lego Movie kind of did the same thing, but it was all CGI. So yeah, it's a true art form that I love anything kind of claymation.
The returning theme with animation, whether it's digital, hand drawn, stop motion, is often just that it's labor intensive and time consuming, and if you want to make it great, there's no real like shortcuts.
Yeah.
You can't just like do the Mandalorian and drop a dome on your character and just like shortcut, have a brand new vista
Right.
every time with their volume. Like a lot of live action, like especially blockbuster filmmaking, has in recent years especially been about like what corners can we cut to like tie this thing together.
Yeah.
To make this simple and easier for every
And to appeal to the mass.
Yeah.
Too. That's another big
and
one.
like this movie is the total opposite of that. It's like it took them 30 years to ever decide to like actually make a finished project. Like,
Yeah.
there was never any like monetary pressure. There was never any notes. It was just him being like, this is the thing I'm gonna make. And like you said, I agree. It's like it's an ode and love letter just to the medium that he's devoted his life to. Like, he's getting up there now.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
for sure.
So it's just him like showing like, this is what I do.
And I think here on the Perfect Movie Podcast, we're all for a director getting to fully realize his vision. You know,
Unless your name's Zack Snyder.
I was going to say I was happy for him when he got to make the director's cut of the Justice League.
Well, I
But,
know, but then he did Rebel Moon. Are you ready for Rebel Moon Part 2? It's coming out on Friday.
I got the notification from Netflix, so I marked the bell on there. I just want to make sure I'm the first one in that bitch.
Oh my god.
That after seeing Dune, I'm just like, there's just no way. It's just
It's like the difference between like watching a 4K Blu-ray and like somebody like a flannel graph.
yeah, somebody giving you the VHS to the movie Shazam.
That's like been taped over like their family like birthday.
Yeah, and then it cuts to like the birthday, and then it cuts to like some commercials so they filmed it on television.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's an incredible project. Liked it a lot. Should we move along to our next segment?
Yes.
Let's let the hate flow through you.
I guess we could kind of say, I mean, as a negative, there just wasn't really any plot. You know, there's nothing to really motivate you to care for anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of the point of this film as well. So, I mean, obviously how we were talking about it, it's just, you're kind of just there. And our main character, he's more so a vessel into this world, more so than an actual character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you were saying like this would be a good. Were you saying this would be a good Halloween movie?
Great Halloween film, yeah.
I think it'd be a thing you could put on if you were doing like a genuinely like we're doing freaky Halloween at my Halloween party. You could just like throw it on in a corner of a room. People just
Yeah.
like walk in and out, and it's just like
Whoa, what the
like,
fuck?
like, you know, just sit there for 6 disgusting minutes and dip out. And
Yeah.
you get your. You don't need to see it all,
Yeah,
but why not? Like.
right.
Yeah, I agree. And I was expecting to get the most hung up on, and I didn't as much as I thought. It's not striving for that at all. So it's not like, I don't know if I can call it a failure. It's certainly not going to be a lot of people's bag, clearly. Like, this was never meant to be a mass appeal thing. It's a passion project.
Yeah.
My one note, and it's just more of a nitpick, is some of the blending of when they have live action characters looks
Yes.
kind of cheap. And also occasionally there's like particle effects that I think are digitally put over. Like there's like a snowstorm at some point.
Yeah.
And they just look really pretty basic. Like
Yeah.
not, like there's like 14-year-olds on YouTube that can just, give you a better effect.
Sure.
Easily.
Sure. I mean, this movie looks like it's ripped straight out of the 70s to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were saying, that blend of live action, it didn't really work for me either. It's got that kind of cheap like film school quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little funky sometimes, especially the scene that went on, in my opinion, went on entirely too long, was when the doctor was like opening up the assassin and doing that whole thing. That was like way too long. And yeah, it just looked a little janky. So actually, one positive about that scene, I was going to say, I meant to say this earlier in It's an Art, but when it just holds on that clock, and the clock is just, you can't ever tell when it's going to tick. It just creates this really like unease and otherworldliness to this world. I don't know. It's very strange. I don't know why like a clock made me feel uncomfortable, but it did. Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole thing because it's just like there's no hope. You're ticking time on your bomb didn't go off because time just froze. Like,
Yeah,
what hope
yeah.
for you is there now that you're strapped at this table wide awake while you're getting
Right.
your insides rummaged through by some like demon doctor? Like it's
And that's kind of what I put in my notes because I was like, without time, there is no order to anything. It's just pure chaos,
yeah. I agree it went on too long, but it's also like that's why.
Right,
Like,
right. I thought the actual scene of them digging into him, I was like, this kind of looks funky already. I don't want to stay on this shot for too long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
weird
Other
one.
than that, not too many other nitpicks, really.
Yeah. And, you know, the one thing I like about this movie, I like that it's no dialogue.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's different. The thing that I didn't like about Spirited Away, I think one of the things that really rubbed me wrong, because Spirited Away, while being allegedly a children's movie, has a lot of like freaky stuff in it.
Yeah.
And it's about like a small child being stuck in a dark world that doesn't really, you know, make sense to her.
Yeah.
It's just the way that movie is constantly calling out what's happening. Like I just remember there's one scene where there's like paper birds.
Yeah.
And the character goes, "Oh, paper birds," or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just like it kind of ruins the vibe for me because it's like
It's such a visual spectacle.
Yeah.
You can, you don't have to spell it out.
you can just let it breathe. Like in that movie, in the train scene, they just let it breathe.
Yeah.
She's not going like, "Ooh, a ghost train. We're going on the ghost train now." You know.
Yeah.
So like in this movie, if it was like that, you know, doing like, "Well, that just happened."
the guy looks at the camera like, what?
You know, like this silent trudge through hell is like, yeah, it makes you feel more alone, the viewer.
yeah,
It makes them feel more alone, the character. You know?
I think some of the anime stuff, because a lot of anime does that, they just feel the need to kind of like explain everything to you. I think a lot of that is kind of lost in translation because the original Japanese dialogue, it's a lot more rich than the dubbed American version. You know what I mean? Dubbed
Yeah.
English version. I don't know. If you watch anime, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. It was
Yeah.
just in watching that, I was just like, give me a little credit.
Right.
You know?
right.
But yeah, I don't have much more to nitpick or pick this apart. So shall we fall along to our final question?
Let's do it.
Is this a perfect movie?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And it was perfect. Perfect in every way.
Kaylin, you are the leader of the Animation April, so you can start.
No, I can't. I wouldn't give it that title. I feel like because our whole thing is we would show these movies to the aliens if they were to ever come.
True.
And if we showed this film to an alien, they'd probably be like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
Maybe if we want to get rid of the aliens,
yeah, they were like, maybe we don't want to probe you.
or if they're like
Got
really
a lot going on.
really rad aliens,
Yeah, then they might be like into it. You know,
like this shit is sick.
it's pretty cool.
This
You
is
guys
just like my planet.
yeah, literally. They might be like, wow, you humans have such a complex brain that you're able to come up with something like this. And then they go on TikTok and they're like, nope, zap.
I'm imagining showing this to like the Mars Attacks aliens that like all died because birds, like the whole world went to shit because a bird flew too close.
yeah.
I was gonna say yes. It's
Really?
like I was like, this is just like if nothing else, it's just like who puts 30 years into a movie and
Yeah.
makes it this weird and like insane? Like it's just so its own thing. One of the real Letterboxd reviews was like just commits to its own bit at such a admirable level. Like
Yeah.
it's just like it's not doing any half measures.
Yeah.
It's doing like it feels like, you know, straight from. That's what the trailer says. It's like from visionary director, visionary animator Phil Tippett. Like it's just like the, I don't know, the goopy soot on the bottom of his brain. Just,
Yeah. Well, it's definitely like his magnum opus kind of thing. Where
Yeah.
It's like, this is for me that I've always tried to make. And from that aspect, yeah, it should be celebrated for
But
sure.
in the like, is Princess Bride is my which is a movie we haven't reviewed yet. Is my like signature is not the word. It's my premier example of what a perfect movie is.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
like the farthest thing.
Yeah. And I think like we have to like think about these different elements to like what a perfect film is. And I just think that it's missing that factor of like not mass appeal, because that's not what we look for either, but it's just it kind of alienates people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where it's like I couldn't just show this to anybody. I could show what's another perfect movie example? that we did recently. I mean, like Mad Max. I could show Mad Max to anybody, and even if people aren't into that genre, they can still appreciate it for like the cinematography, the characters, just different things like that.
Yeah.
And that's a vile and disgusting world too, but it doesn't alienate people, I don't think. And that's kind of what I think Mad God does. Like, I, for one, appreciate it, and I like it a lot, but I don't know.
No, we don't have to put it on there. I was pleasantly surprised by how.
That's so bizarre because I did not think you were going to get this reaction from it.
No, I liked it a lot. I was just like, this is so fucking weird, and I didn't know where it was ever going to go, and it was, it's a different kind of experience, but it's just kind of like entrancing to just be like, what vile thing will happen next?
Yeah.
You know? And not in like I didn't like enjoy it. It's not like blowing up Nazis at the end of Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
It's not like disgusting and yay. It's like disgusting and like why and how. And I want to, like, at some point I probably will watch it because I feel like the end scene to me read more hopeful. Maybe it was just the music, the way it kicked in, but it just kind of felt like, I don't know. And here we go again.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't end on that note of like pure misery.
Yeah, I don't think I think I would have been more turned off if it was just like, like Masked Man falls into Lake of Fire, like dying like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
I would have been like, well, that's exactly how I expected this to end, and it didn't.
Right.
It wanted to fold in on itself, and I think it wants you to watch it again to like kind of piece together like the clockwork nature and cycle of like, because to me it feels like a self-contained loop that is just gonna kind of repeat and reset.
Yeah.
Like you could staple the beginning of this movie onto the end of it and it like fits together.
Right. No, that's definitely an interesting way to kind of put it. I'm kind of inclined to like, if we want to put it on the list, let's put it on the list. Because I do, like we were saying, I for one, I love to see when directors get to make what they want to make, and they get that chance to fully have their vision realized. And like, I just think that should be celebrated. So,
should we induct it on the list?
Let's induct it on the list. Fuck it.
Okay, Mad God is going on the list. Now I have a question for you. Which universe alienated you more? Was it this movie, or was it our other most recent perfect movie, Dead Poets Society? What do you think, hell or yuppie rich white kids?
Oh, they both seem like hell to me.
I think I was more alienated by Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
I'm like, these are motivated teenagers? What the fuck?
None of them are in gangs. Why not?
They just want to get together and read poetry? What are you doing?
They want to do well in school. What is this?
Couldn't be me.
I don't remember putting that on the list. I guess we did.
We did.
I don't remember that.
That recording was just a whole slog. It was a whole mess. We recorded for like damn near 2 hours.
Yeah,
and
we did.
I think I cut out like 20 minutes of it.
Probably. We definitely probably went on a tangent here or there.
That was crazy. But yes, we were probably very loopy by the end of it. But Dead Poets Society is on the list. And now, so is Mad God.
You want to read off that list real quick there, buddy?
Oh, it's long, but yeah, I can. If you are a Letterboxd user, you could find this. I have this, and our Letterboxds are in the description, both on YouTube and on Spotify. So if you want to ever check out and check the list for yourself, it is on there, and I will try to keep it up to date as possible. Mad God just got added. So I want to number these, see how many we've inducted. Let me see if I can do that real quick. I'll just count them at the end. Okay, so this is in order of chronological induction. Star Wars Episode 5. Django Unchained. Napoleon Dynamite. All of the Lord of the Rings. Scream. Alien. Halloween. Do the Right Thing. Judas and the Black Messiah. School of Rock. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The Grand Budapest Hotel. Mad Max Fury Road. The Dark Knight. Raising Arizona. Nacho Libre. Dead Poets Society. and Mad God.
It's quite a list. Quite a list indeed.
What was that? I think 20.
Yeah.
20 perfect movies.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
I'm sure there's a few on there somebody would like to argue with us with, but
I like how all over the place that is.
Yeah.
There's like, I mean, between Grand Budapest and Mad God, that's like the two ends of the spectrum. It's like, do you want a movie that's just pinks and purples and, good friends on an adventure?
and then you have a dark, disgusting movie with penis monsters.
Choose your path.
Got something for everybody, Next week we will be doing Jinro, which is a anime from the 90s that it's pretty under the radar. I've never seen it. Michael's never seen it. I wanted to check it out, so that's what we're going to be doing. Stay tuned for that one, and until next time.
I didn't know you'd never seen Jinro.
No, I have not seen it.
I thought you were saying Juno, starring Michael Cera.
No, but we should do that eventually.
I was like, I didn't realize that's animated.
I love Juno. Juno's a good movie.
All I really remember of that movie is that what's his name from Ozarks gets kind of rapey.
Yeah, he's kind of pedo-ish, just a little bit. But then you also have J. Jonah Jameson as the father.
Is he?
Yeah,
I forgot.
he's great and everything.
That movie has been wiped from my memory, so we could go back to it.
And you also have Elliot Page.
Elliot Page, pregnant
Elliot Page. Wow.
Whoa, progressive. Okay, so that will be next week. We're in the darker side of animation.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell the people? We can do it. We'll tell the people what we're doing next week.
I did tell them already. Oh,
We'll tell the people what we're doing next month. I mean.
Yeah. We'll save that as a little surprise, a little bonus.
Okay, so tune in next week. You said
We can never end. It's like Star Wars.
you know how you said not too shabby a second ago?
Yeah.
Did I ever show you it's a pretty obscure YouTube channel that's just like some like random man that bikes around to various places and he'll like just announce it. So sometimes it's like a famous place. He'll be like the Grand Canyon, not too shabby.
No, I've never seen that.
Or one time he's like in the basement like of a church and he's like Lutheran prayer and coffee breakfast, not too shabby.
Is he a Midwestern guy?
I think he might be Canadian.
Okay.
If he's not Canadian, he has Canadian energy.
Okay.
So I'll probably staple one of those on the end of this episode.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just I love when just like Phil Tippett making his disgusting animation magnum opus. I love when people find their thing. And his thing is biking around and calling things not too shabby. It seems like it makes him happy.
That could either go one of two ways. Either like you do that, or you're like one of those guys that played a horror movie monster, and that's the only thing you're ever known for the rest of your life. And you show up to conventions 30 years later, and you're like, "Remember me? I played the creature in Silent Hill."
I want to say, didn't the guy from the original Alien just like disappear and never get heard from again?
He was a black guy.
He was like a 6'9" like Ethiopian guy or something.
Yeah, probably. Either that or they put another costume on him. But, they couldn't show him without his mask, right?
They have to stand there in the full suit and like hold the head. So they're like, that's me. I'm the monster.
I feel like every like studio has a minority tarp that they throw over their minorities.
Yeah, or they're just like, we're gonna paint you green this movie.
We're going to turn you into a frog.
Okay, Zoe Saldana, you're going to be green for 3 films.
Okay, Jar Jar.
Me so no wanna live anymore. All right. It came back to Star Wars.
Oh, my God.
It's like poetry, it rhymes. Phil Tippett.
You guys feel free to go about your everyday life.
Of Star Wars.
And just like kind of go through your everyday life and just like see what all relates to Star Wars. That's your homework for today.
Yeah.
And going forward.
You're out at the beach.
You see sand.
I hate this sand.
Also, the ocean, Camino.
Yeah.
It was like a giant water planet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Whoa. Naboo, full of grass.
Oh, my God.
and Jamaican frogs.
Coruscant, just go downtown to your whatever city you're living in.
I make you the Bombad General.
I want to learn how to do, what is the fish guy? The general of like the rebels.
Oh, Admiral Akbar?
Yeah, I want to learn how to do a good Admiral Akbar impression.
It's so true.
There you go. See ya.
It's the Los Animas County Courthouse. Not too shabby.